The History of Manufacturing in the City of Wayne, an Overview by Alfred Brock, Part 3. In 1878, we see a farm company formed between Brace and Corey. This 95-acre company farm was successful in 1878 in distilling 91 pounds of mint oil from 1.5 acres of plants. Quite an achievement. In the same time period, farmers and woodsmen were also taking advantage of the large stands of maple trees which used to stand here on the eastern edges of the Great Black Swamp. This is included in this history of manufacturing in Wayne because both the extraction of mint oil and the processing of raw maple sap into maple syrup and maple sugar are manufacturing processes that require finished goods, trade, skilled labor, and marketing. Here is an example, in the upper left, of the outer workings of a sap house, where the raw maple sap would have been rendered into maple syrup and maple sugar. Similar apparatus would have been used to distill and refine the mint oil. Traditional operations are pictured on the right. Here is a piece of common capital stock issued by the Flint-Pere Marquette Railroad Company from 1888. This is an example from a business outside the city of Wayne. We will see one more like this, and the rest we will see will have direct ties to the city of Wayne and the history of manufacturing here. A 1980 Michigan Central Railroad stock certificate, as has been noted in a previous presentation here at the Wayne Historical Museum. People take railroads very seriously, enough to put their money where their mouth is. People also needed to get around. It was one thing to ride the railroad, but being that the railroad was much like the airline of today's world, when you got somewhere, you still had to get around. There was work to be got to, work to be done, school to attend, church going, and the odd picnic. Americans wanted transportation, and several companies wanted to give it to them. The Detroit Carriage Woodworking Company decided to move their operations from Detroit to Wayne under the name of the Prouty and Glass Carriage Company. What the Prouty Glass Carriage Company did for the city of Wayne was to build large structures intended for manufacturing. The shipping and receiving facilities in the area were increased, and we have already seen by the map we looked at a little while ago, Prouty Glass brought the most important ingredient to Wayne: people. Innovation was also at work here in the city of Wayne. Starting with Prouty Glass, we can see one of the sleighs that they made. This wasn't just made for fun or to look good on a postcard, though it does look good on a postcard. This was a major type of specialized transportation that was used here in the state of Michigan and across the United States. It was beyond status. This device could be a matter of life and death in those days. Let us look at these two items highlighted on the left and the right. One is a wing nut and bolt, and the other a square nut and bolt. We're looking at mass production, designed for need. I'm going to jump ahead in time for a moment and introduce an idea that came to me while I was doing this research. I have heard several stories about how Henry Ford used to like to come to Wayne to hang around the barbershop and talk with the locals. Now we all know that Henry Ford is the father of modern American automation. Food for thought. But these two items here and the photos of operations in the successor of Prouty Glass, which was Saroon Motors and others, which actively incorporated what appears to be some sort of assembly line production with mass-produced parts, well, it just got me thinking a little more about our city of Wayne. We can see what I'm alluding to in these images taken right here in this museum. The light is an effective signal lantern as well as being an illumination device. The upholstering uses a time-tried and true technique, but let's take a look at the wheel. This wheel is one of many made just like it, over and over again. It's not like someone said, "Hey Bob, that wheel looks grand. Why don't you try and make 3 more like it?" That's because the ongoing process they had set up was designed by necessity to manufacture this good repeatedly, over time, with quality and very little deviation. City of Wayne, right there in a nutshell. Here is an older version of a Prouty Glass wagon. In the center is the operational shock absorber and spring system. It is a manufactured spring. This is a big deal. Let's continue. Mechanical manufacturers are different from early manufacturers in that the work of the early manufacturers was dominated by work done with the hand, not machines. It had to be because the machines had not been yet made to mimic the actions of a human hand. They were also laboring under the onus of still working with animals. It is a bias that still shows its face today, but that is another story. For their time, the Prouty and Glass Carriage Company facility was modern, well-appointed, and had access to excellent transportation service, a feature that would continue to attract manufacturers to Wayne, and still does. And this ends Part 3 of the History of Manufacturing in Wayne.